Comics are stupid.
No Harry Potter movie is
And
good.
you're like, give me the Snyder Cut. Oh, sorry, just walk in front of you here. Gonna put my popcorn down. Oh, sorry, gotta put this here.
Universal needs to sue Sony.
Hey, I'm an idiot. I was fired from Fox. Let me go.
I'd like actually to see Venom just crush Spider-Man.
Let's talk about spoilers because I really want
Spoilers.
to talk about the spoilers in this thing.
All right, guys,
Um,
you'll get
if
a
you haven't
spoiler
seen it-
warning.
And who knows, maybe if I am not lazy when editing, there will be like a cool like thing, and like that'll happen at some point, like probably now, and then later, then you know. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. Let's talk about spoilers. So go away if you haven't seen it yet.
About seeing it, watch this movie in IMAX. The three of us saw it in IMAX, and it was an absolutely incredible experience.
Yes, it was amazing.
Watch this in IMAX. It's worth it.
But it works better with the big screen and the big sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, IMAX typically is pretty good, and especially for movies like this, which is just so big in scale.
Yeah.
That when you see it in that big scale, it's good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the beginning of this movie. Okay.
Oh, the beginning was are we talking about the when Riddler's in the mayor's house, or like the monologue?
Just the
and
vibe
such?
of that very beginning stretch of the movie. So the two things, there's three things in that kind of beginning I want to ask you about. So the first one is, like you said, when the Riddler is kind of, introduced, and the second part is when Batman is introduced. And I think those two kind of points at the beginning are huge. And I'm going to tell you what I kind of thought of that, and you tell me what you think. But when Riddler is introduced, right, you get it's a very horror-esque vibe to the movie, right? The camera looks at it, you see him, then you don't see him, and then all of a sudden, he hits the thing with the carpet, hits the mayor with the carpet thing, right? And the mayor falls, and and the music is again perfect in that. But then the other part of that is when Batman's introduced, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear there's the dialogue by Batman, and you get all of these criminals who just see the bat signal, right? And then they get scared, right? And then, there's the criminals that don't get scared, and Batman is right there. He comes out, you hear the boots clanking, right? You hear it. It's just the clank, 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 and then out comes Batman. And then he just demolishes them.
It's so bad. It's so amazing how they did that. They actually make Batman seem like somebody you should be absolutely terrified of.
And that's, I think, the goal. But what do you think of those two introductions overall?
Both great introductions. Both absolutely great introductions. The Riddler one was absolutely terrifying. Like that part where the mayor is watching TV, and like he walks away from the frame, and the TV gets brighter, and you can see the Riddler like standing right behind him the entire time with the mask and his gloves. Just so like terrifying. It was amazing. And then like the scream he does, and like how violent he got with attacking that mayor. Just such a it's such a great way to establish like, hey, this is the movie you're in for. Okay, like this is about to be insane. And also the introduction of Bruce Wayne, that was great. I actually liked his monologue. The cinematography, and that was great. He's like walking and throughout Gotham, and like all the lights and the people in Halloween masks, and that scene where we see him coming out the shadows, like about to go absolute bonkers on some dudes. Absolutely amazing. Like he is the shadows, and fear this guy. Like you don't want to be around him.
Well, and I think that's the thing. And I think the other thing I want to kind of say as like a segue into that point, but then I do want to come back to that because there's something else I want to say. But we have to talk about later how the whole like character development from that to the end happens, because there's that. But going back to those introductions, I don't think there's ever been in all the superhero movies I've watched, and I've watched a lot of superhero movies. It's kind of my thing, We both watched a lot of superhero movies.
Yep.
I don't think there's ever been a better villain hero introduction than that.
That was a perfect,
because the way they set it up in the mood. Like typically you'll get a very good hero introduction sometimes, or you get a really good villain introduction. You don't get both typically like that. And it was amazing, I thought. And the other funny thing was when he hits the guys in the head, there's not a lot of blood, because
it's just a lot of punching.
Rating down.
Yeah.
So that was funny too, because you saw like typically you expect to see like blood, right? But you didn't get that because obviously ratings and audience and.
This is about ratings. This is the most rated R PG-13 movie that has ever existed.
And I do believe, and I think we can talk about this even later on a bit more when we talk about the sequel, but I think this will be a blueprint now for even people in even like Marvel, right? I think you're gonna get this with Moon Knight. You're gonna get this with probably with Blade, right? You'll probably get this with Morbius if that ever comes out, right? Where you have these movies which basically come to the point of pushing that envelope between going as close to that being R-rated, but without actually being R-rated, because if you're not R-rated, it opens everything up for audience, right? And viewing, because obviously that matters when you're trying to make $1 billion movie.
I mean, they did show a trailer for Morbius when we went to see Batman, so
it doesn't exist. No, it's not a thing.
Oh god, but yeah.
The canceled New Gods movie is more likely to come out than Morbius.
New Gods? What's New Gods? I've never heard of that.
It's canceled. It's not coming out, but it's more likely to come out than Morbius. I refuse to believe that thing's coming out.
So we'll do the same thing. You'll accept to believe that Morbius is a real movie when you watch all the way until the end of the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it ever comes out. It's been moved 5 times. It's not coming out. And if it does, maybe it'll. If it does, like you remember when New Mutants came out? Like remember that kept getting pushed, and then it just kind of disappeared when it came out.
Yeah, it got to a point where like nobody was excited for that because of how many times it got delayed.
I didn't watch it.
You haven't seen New Mutants?
Nope. Yeah. Not going to watch it ever.
Let's see how much it made in the box office.
$2. You were the only one who watched it. Only because you went to watch it in theaters, I think, right?
No. Here we go.
Didn't you? I thought you did.
Nah. Okay, so here. 67% of Google users like this film, and it made $49.1 million in the box office.
That's nothing.
Yeah, that's very little.
Yeah. So basically, New Mutants didn't basically come out. Basically, doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to exist. That's all good. Although that Doctor Strange stuff is going to get wild. We can talk about that later too.
That movie's going to be crazy.
But Batman, speaking of Batman, going back to Batman, that introduction stuff was awesome. And the other thing, what was the one thing they didn't show? And I think we talked a little bit about this before, but like the best part of the movie, I think, was the one thing they didn't show. What was that?
The death of Bruce Wayne's parents.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
You're done. It's officially happened. Spider-Man and Batman. Now, for like the MCU Spider-Man and this new Batman, we have not once seen Uncle Ben get shot, Peter Parker get bitten by a radioactive spider, or Batman's parents getting killed and the pearls dropping to the floor as they come home from a movie. Because everybody and their mother knows the origin stories of Batman, the origin story of Superman, and the origin story of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most iconic origin stories because we've seen them 500 times. Thank you for not forcing us to watch that garbage again. God. Because you know for a fact that Flash is going to have it.
Yeah. We already know Bruce Wayne's parents died. We already know Uncle Ben is dead. We already know Superman's parents are dead and he fled Krypton. Although
it's funny because when Homecoming came out, everyone got mad that they didn't show Uncle Ben die, saying how do we know he died?
Who got mad?
The stupid Spider-Man fans. Haters.
Oh,
haters,
yeah.
Not the fans. The fans were happy. But that was not one of your criticisms, so you just don't like Tom Holland. So.
But yeah, like we already understand these story arcs, so I guess it's in a manner where we can be like, okay, we already know what happened. You don't need to show this to us again, and like, yeah.
Well, like it's not like Batman's parents were not a part of it at all, right? They were used. Yeah. They were probably one of the biggest plot points.
Mm-hmm.
But it was about what they did when they were alive, not about their death.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like a little bit about their death when you find out, like, how they probably died.
Yeah.
But that, like, Batman's father opening the orphanage and being the mayor or running for mayor, and Batman's mother being descendant from the Arkham family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they used them, and they used them like pretty heavily. Like they were one of the primary motivators for a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
But that it doesn't. You don't need to do it, right? Like you don't need to show them dying. You can just say, "Well, my parents died. Oh my God." Everyone in the audience already knows.
Not only that, like there was a part right at the beginning, when Bruce, like right at the start when he comes back on his motorcycle to the Batcave, and he said like what he's doing is for his parents' legacy. So that's another point where his parents were mentioned.
And it's not like, oh well, how, and they kind of do explain that, like they do say it eventually, like if just by watching this movie, even if you had no idea who Batman was or how he became Batman, they do say his parents were killed, right? But we don't have to see it because if you want to see it, just go watch another Batman movie. You'll see it. Don't worry, you'll probably see it multiple times.
Go watch Joker. They showed it.
They did. They showed it in that. It's not even a Batman movie, and they showed it.
Yeah.
But I think that was interesting.
Yeah.
The way they did that. Let's talk about the Riddler.
The Riddler, yes. Boy, oh boy.
Where does Riddler rank in your kind of pantheon of Batman movie villains, like overall?
Oh, this is tough, honestly.
Like, is it top end or is it Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Top end, easily. I would say
Heath Ledger, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's like the bars.
Yeah. I'd say he's actually tied for second place, right behind. Heath Ledger's Joker will always be the best, but Paul Dano's Riddler, he has a chance to be number 2. Actually, like he was absolutely amazing. I love how they took I love how the influence came from Seven and Zodiac and Jigsaw. You know, all that influence just created an absolutely amazing character.
Okay, now does Halle Berry's Catwoman have a case to be better than Paul Dano's Riddler?
In a multiverse, in another universe, probably where they made a better movie, yeah.
Or they just didn't make the movie.
Oh well, she's already better. Like she's already had a much better villain than Paul Dano's Riddler.
We're not. I feel it's so disrespectful when mentioning that. Yeah, so we've got the tier of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Halle Berry, and Jared Leto and then you got Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix, and
Paul Dano.
That's really it. It's just them. Like, and I guess like it's like also Jack Nicholson probably.
Yeah.
Right.
In there too, 100%.
Okay, now let's look at Jim Carrey's Riddler.
Oh, no, these two are completely different. I think Jim Carrey was so over the top, and a lot less sinister than Paul Dano's Riddler. But Paul Dano's Riddler is so much better.
Okay, so then so you're saying Jim Carrey's Riddler is kind of a no?
Yeah.
What about you look at like Lex Luthor from like Batman vs Superman? I'm looking at characters who are very similar but not really.
He was he was just there. That's the best way you can put it.
Like I feel like he's I feel like that's kind of the middle, right? You've got Lex. You've got a lot of the Lex that just end up being in the middle, right? Yeah. You've got those kind of middle villains. You've got the bottom ones who we've mentioned, and then you've got like the 2-3 Jokers at the top, right?
Yeah.
Because the Joker somehow always ends up being the best DC villain.
Oh, speaking of Joker.
What about Joker? Oh, Joker's in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he may not be the villain of the second one, apparently, according to Matt Reeves, because Matt Reeves said it's not like a cameo for things to come; it's just like a thing in the movie.
Here it is. So, if actually Barry Keoghan's Joker is going to be a primary villain, let me know. What do you think of it? Do you think he's going to be a good Joker, or no? Are you kind of skeptical about him?
I have an opinion, but I want to hold off till we talk about the sequel.
Okay, sounds good.
Because when I say what my opinion is, I have to back it up. Like I've got there's a little bit more to it than just an answer.
All right,
so
fair
we'll
enough.
Hold that off for now.
Sure.
It's a little bit of teaser for later when we talk about the sequel, because
fair
there's
enough.
a little bit. I knew some thinking about this, so we didn't
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I thought the way they handled the Joker was awesome, and the fact that he was like, I know people thought he got a little bit campy kind of toward the end with like the 500 followers and whatever.
Yeah.
But like for the character they built, I know people wanted this like very scary person. And I'm gonna say this is just the curse of being a villain with glasses. Like I feel like every villain with glasses just ends up being looked at as like not scary.
Yeah.
Right? Which is weird, but like I don't know. I think people want him to be scarier than he was, but it's like, who is the Riddler? And that was not a riddle. That's just a question.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
I've noticed also in many reviews, the one part that many people who reviewed the Batman that they didn't like was actually that second half of the third act where, you know, all the Riddler impersonators come out and like, you know, do their thing.
So Cinema Spectacle, I had reviewed this thing, okay? And their handle is cinema.spectacle on Instagram, whatever. Go, you know, check them out too, because they know stuff about movies. But what they said was, it wasn't just necessarily the performance, but more the way he looked and the nature of the scenes he was in. He was never intimidating in any of these scenes, right? Talking about the Riddler. And I thought that was something interesting, which kind of made me think a little bit more about this character, because it's like, but it's like, the Riddler's not a scary, like you go back, right? And you go look at Batman comics even, right? The Riddler has never in the history of Batman been a scary character.
Nope.
For the most part. Like, yeah, he has a few moments of like, oh my God, this man's a twisted psychopath. But I feel like this is this is also the problem with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, right? They have this silliness problem, right? Where the character is built to be a little bit silly, crazy, right? You're kind of trying to take the vibes of the Joker, right? That's what they try to infuse in these characters.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if he comes back eventually as in, you know, maybe a second or a third or even maybe a fourth movie, right? As a villain, I think you're going to see a very different character. Because I think you'll see this because it's an evolution of the character, right? Because I think a lot of things like Heath Ledger's Joker, as a character, he didn't evolve that much, right? He was just really good.
Yeah.
From the beginning. But I think if you look like Jesse Eisenberg, I believe if there were more movies where he could actually explore his character, besides basically one movie and an end credit scene, or I guess 2 hours in the Zack Snyder Justice League, depending on, you know, which was the end credit scene. It was a 2-hour end credit scene.
Would have been better for him.
But I feel like if you explore, like when you explore, like I think maybe you see him come back and he'll be a little bit more of a scarier villain, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, the fact that they didn't explore it that much and like, yeah, post-credit scene in one movie isn't enough. Maybe they could do a spin-off, a movie, a TV show focusing on Lex Luthor.
Well, this Lex Luthor character is gone, but I think Riddler, I think he will get a chance to kind of be redeemed.
I feel like they could redeem him either in a TV show, like what they're doing right now with Penguin, or in the Batman 2.
Yeah, I mean, or 3 or whatever, right? Like maybe not 2, but so talk to me about the Batmobile.
Oh my God, that Batmobile was so tough.
Did you like it?
Loved it. The part where like he's revving the engine in the dark and like you can see the face of Penguin. Like Penguin's like, oh God, I gotta go, I gotta run. And oh my God, that Batmobile was so tough. The way it just ran through that whole cement pillar like so easily. That's one of the best Batmobiles ever. It was so insane.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, and I've to talk to some people who actually have, you know, watched this movie who aren't fans of Batman, which is how I like to judge that's like how I like to judge kind of, you know, my like what I talk about, you know, when it comes to a movie, because I like to know people who aren't, because, you know, there's a whole like, you know, kind of the tunnel kind of effect, right? Where it's like, you know, I talk to you, right? And I talk to other people who are Batman fans, but when I talk to people who aren't, that's when I kind of get a more full version of like what people thought of the movie, because obviously
they're just average moviegoers.
Well, and that they don't know things like we know things about Batman that they don't,
Right.
And so it was interesting to kind of get that perspective. And the thing that people kept saying was the Batmobile felt very blah, like plain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not like you think about like Batman versus Superman, the big tank, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think there's two sides to that, right? And I want to hear what you think about this. So the first side, and the way I rationalized it was, look, it's based off of like the Adam West Batmobile, right? Which is more of a car, no guns or whatever on it, right?
Yeah.
And B, it's kind of like this is the first version, right? Because Batman's in his second year of being Batman, right?
Yeah.
There are a few things where it's like, obviously this is not the way. Like when you see him jump off the building, right? And he has to put on that flight suit.
He was kind of hesitant.
He had to put on the whole flight suit thing, right? He couldn't just jump with his cape.
Yeah.
And I think those are things you'll see changed because obviously he's only in his second year. He probably hasn't at this point fought that many like supervillains, let's say. So you'll see him eventually kind of, you'll see this evolution probably in the next movie. You'll probably see better gadgets. His motorcycle, the Batmobile will probably be a little bit more upgraded. His suit will be a little bit more upgraded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you'll get like you think you'll get that kind of do you think this makes sense as like a start point and then
of course
like Iron Man. Like Iron Man 1, his suit is like this big gray thing, right?
Yeah.
But then obviously it doesn't stay like that. It just gets better and slimmer and it has more features and and then he's snapping his fingers with it, so
exactly, it evolves. Not only that, but whenever Batman was fighting with absolutely anybody with his fists, he would always take so many hits because, like you said, it's his second year of being Batman. He's still learning the ropes, It's not like the Ben Affleck mature Batman who has gadgets and a huge muscle tank car thing. And this is just second year Batman.
Also a lot of padding on his suit.
A lot of padding on his suit too. But yeah, like the fact that he's second year, it's just a start, He's gonna take a lot of hits. He's gonna have lower grade, I guess, gadgets than what we would expect. So it makes sense.
And the other part of it, to be honest, and that was something I was thinking about, is in terms of the overall suit fit, I feel like they should go thinner with the suit and less padding, right? And go even more kind of ninja. True. And less like, Ben Affleck, right?
Oh, yeah, Ben Affleck's suit made him look twice the size he was.
Well, because of but I think because I feel like if you're very much going in this ninja direction, which Batman obviously is a ninja, like we're not acting like that's not true. So go like I think they could even. I feel like it was a little bit too even padded then, and so maybe that's an evolution of the suit. Is it's a little bit thinner and a little bit more like a ninja suit than like a padded like big thing on it, right?
Yeah, like big hockey goalie pads or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's something else that they could kind of look at because I think the boots even like I think the boots if they don't make the boots as loud because that also speaks to his character development obviously going from and I guess we can talk about his character development now but going from like where he goes from this very much someone who trying to spark fear to kind of over the course of the movie realizing that's not the best way to help people. It's to be like this symbol I guess of hope to the good people, but also still being a fear for the bad people, not fear for everybody.
Yeah, that's what he's supposed to represent. Fear for the bad guys, and he's supposed to be a symbol of hope for Gotham, which is what he's striving to be as he's also learning how to be a better Batman in terms of, physically, like the suit, the fighting, the gadgets, the Batmobile. So he's got a lot to learn, but I'm positive that in the end he's going to be one tough guy who's just you don't want to see him, Well, he already is somebody that you don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
Despite being so raw.
Yeah, and I mean I can't wait to kind of see what they do with because I think you saw this nice arc. So let's see it keep going. I guess.
For sure.
Because I think Pattinson's the best Batman, individually.
Yeah.
Because can't believe Michael Keaton's going Batman again for 5 movies. My God. DC needs to fix themselves.
It seems like DC is better at making standalone movies rather than ones in the DCEU.
100%.
100%. Like this Batman movie, incredible. DCEU movies, they've been so inconsistent.
Well, yeah, you'll get Aquaman, which is sensational, but then you'll get Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is garbage.
absolutely terrible. They've only made one Batman movie, and it's absolutely amazing.
And I'm like this, but this is the problem, right? And I think this is what it comes down to is the DCEU movies would be better if they had one consistent voice at the front and let the kind of directors kind of do their thing.
Yeah.
But because they don't, what happens is you get all these weird things going on, and you don't just get good directors to do good movies. With the standalone movies, you're just saying, hey, Matt Reeves, you go make a good Batman movie.
Matt Reeves just makes good movies. It's that simple.
Yeah, he makes good movies.
Yeah.
So what did you think about Alfred?
Alfred was good. I think Alfred's actually a very important character. He is the only dude that is holding Bruce's sanity and humanity together. Like, I like the trick somewhere in the middle of the movie where we think he's dead from the explosion, but then it turns out that it turns out that Bruce made the call to the other woman working at his house like an hour after the bomb went off. So that was I like that misleading, and then we thought he was dead, and then turns out he's alive.
The way they cut that was beautiful. I love that because they added suspense.
The editing in this movie,
cutting of it, making it seem like it was now, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, no, the editing in this movie is so underrated. It's amazing. But he was such an important character, and like I said, he's the only thing holding Bruce's humanity together. So, but not only that, Andy Serkis was great. Yeah, he was great.
Could you see him properly as Alfred, or was this between the being younger and being, I guess, in a Marvel movie before? And,
it felt strange. We're used to seeing Alfred as somebody older like Jeremy Irons or Michael Caine, but he slowly adapted to it.
Hold on, just keep talking. I gotta get water.
He slowly adapted to it as the movie went on. And most certainly he got better. Obviously, we're used to seeing Alfred as some older guy with, I guess you could say, gray hair. But not only that, I'm excited to see him. He's supposed to be like kicking butt soon. So Kane or no Kane. So he should be going crazy too. And he was, that's what I liked. Like I said, holding Bruce's sanity and the other factors, but as a movie went on, he's got better.
That was interesting, right? Was he was useful and helpful with the detective, because he was a Secret Service agent, and I think Alfred in a lot of the movies he feels very useless. Like he doesn't do much in terms of helping Batman, besides like, oh, I built you something or something, whatever, right? But it was good to see him kind of be much more useful and say, hey, I'm good at solving things. I'm gonna go solve this code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that was a very underrated thing that Alfred doesn't normally do in Batman movies like that. Like, because again, it's not really a detective movie. So Alfred's job being a former, Secret Service or British Secret Service person is kind of lessened because he can't fight that much anymore.
Yeah.
And so he's not like he's going to go out and fight people with Batman. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's good to see there's something, like, it also gives Alfred a role, which is nice.
No, but you make a good point there, for sure.
What about Catwoman and her role and all that? She's the best Catwoman ever, right?
Yeah, obviously. Like,
I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer was there.
Michelle Pfeiffer was good, but Zoe Kravitz, she could be up there too. Yeah, Zoe Kravitz was good. I like the twist where it turns out Carmine Falcone is apparently her father.
I think that's a real thing too.
Yeah.
That might be. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure.
The flirtiness with Batman, that was interesting to see, despite the fact that they hardly know each other, I guess. Yeah, that's
normal.
Yeah. But yeah, overall Zoe Kravitz was great as Catwoman. What did you think of Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman?
And Anne Hathaway, that's who the other one was.
Anne Hathaway, right? Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, I mean, I thought Zoe Kravitz did a really good job. I think, I mean, I think she was actually the most Catwoman, in the sense that she wasn't, because I feel like, and I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen it, so I cannot say for sure that I'm like not lying, but the way they portrayed her in the Batman Returns movie, she felt a little bit more like a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think Catwoman, like, I think she was portrayed again perfectly here, and even her suit, like, you can tell it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Like, I think you'll see a proper Catwoman suit later on, but ideally not a Halle Berry Catwoman suit, but a normal one. But I think you kind of got her being this, like, yeah, I'm gonna steal and do whatever. I have my own set of like moral rules. I'm still gonna be nice to Batman, but I'm also kind of doing my own thing. But I'm not gonna actually work with the evil people unless they tell me to work with them. Like, it's kind of this she's like this in between kind of. Sometimes you see her as this person. Sometimes she'll probably be on the other side of things, right?
Yep.
Sometimes she'll be stealing from the bad guys. Sometimes she'll be helping them kill you, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think who knows? Maybe she'll come back and next time she'll be a little bit more. She'll be working with the bad guys a little bit more.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
Because if Batman's not working in her interest, then maybe something it'll be different.
She'll turn to the bad guys probably.
Well, it depends on like what her goal is, right? Like if her own personal, and I think that was the other thing, was she had a goal in this movie and that was it. That was her purpose, right? She never really deviated from that overall. Like everything she did around that was to get to that goal.
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice too. But yeah, I liked it. I liked their chemistry together. That was nice. I don't know did you see the thing she said about like how she method acted by drinking milk out of a bowl?
Oh yes. I read something about that. Didn't see it, but like yes,
there were pictures too.
Supposedly she did something like that.
Yeah, there were pictures of her drinking milk out of a bowl.
Oh, it's just like a cat. Jeez.
But I think the way she meant it was more in like a kind of a joke, because everyone always asks like, about what people like do to method act because of everything after Heath Ledger, right? Everyone like, oh, how did you get prepared for this role? And I think she was kind of like, she joked it off by saying, yeah, I just drank milk from a bowl like a cat.
Oh my god.
Because Jared Leto's method acting was like, I'm gonna be a creep and send dead rats to co-stars.
Yeah.
Which is not funny or cool or anything. But she was kind of like, I just drank milk out of a bowl. What do you want me to do?
I wonder what
become a cat.
I wonder what his method acting is going to be for Morbius.
I think he probably just secretly drank blood out of people. I'm sure if you look for some reports of kids just disappearing.
Yeah. Good way to prepare for the role.
Mm-hmm. You're not a vampire. But,
yeah.
If you see Jared Leto, run the other way.
Run the other way, especially in a dark alley. You don't want to be next to that guy.
Especially if he says, just ask, before you run away, ask him, what movies are you doing? If he says, oh yeah, I'm doing a vampire movie, just get out.
Go, just run for your life.
The Joker, or if he's saying I'm doing a movie about, about like I'm Barney in a Barney movie, then you're probably good.
If Jared Leto does a Barney movie, kids will get nightmares.
I want that now. Can we do that? Can we get that to happen? Live action Barney as Jared Leto as Barney?
Hey, Warner Bros., let's do it. Wait, I got a question about Morbius. We know Michael Keaton's in it. He's playing Adrian Toomes, Vulture. So what's going on? Is he like, did he travel through the multiverse, or like, what's up?
We have no clue. No one knows what the hell's happening.
So
we may never know because it may never come out. So
yeah, I mean, if this movie actually decides to be smart and explain how the hell Michael Keaton
smart Sony. Despite the fact they both start with S's. We know Sony's more like the other S word and less of smart.
Yeah. But yeah. I hope that they explain how the heck Michael Keaton went from the MCU to this. Maybe it's the multiverse. I don't know.
Don't hold your breath for an explanation.
We'll have to wait and see. Morbius coming out.
We'll never know. No, we'll never know.
Literally.
Never know.
Literally.
We'll just have to imagine what their explanation would be.
oh, the explanation was he traveled through a portal and he's just here now because whatever.
Or he just exists in maybe Michael Keaton just exists in every universe. He exists in every version of the DC universe and every version of maybe Michael Keaton is just is a multiversal constant.
Same with Andy Serkis.
No, Andy Serkis. Oh yeah, no, he hasn't showed up in a Sony movie yet.
Oh yeah, he hasn't. Facts.
I think Michael Keaton might be a universal constant, and that is how it is explained. Michael Keaton just every universe has Michael Keaton. Every multiverse universe has Michael Keaton, and that's just a fact. Like it's like one of the unbreakable rules of science.
Michael Keaton in absolutely every cinematic universe.
Yeah. He just exists. Michael Keaton is just everywhere.
Yeah.
He's a universal constant. They should teach this in science class.
Yes, how Michael Keaton is a multiversal constant and how he's in absolutely every cinematic universe, no matter what.
No matter what universe you go to, you'll have a Michael Keaton.
You will. Even in our world, we have a Michael Keaton. And
we do.
And in the other world that Albert Einstein talked about probably once or twice, there's probably a Michael Keaton there.
There has to be. Michael Keaton's everywhere. I was choking on water. But Batman is cool.
We're going to talk about the sequel as well, right?
Yeah, let's talk about the sequel. Unless you have anything else to say about this, I'm just trying to remember. I feel like we forgot something.
Let's see.
Oh, let's talk about the crime bosses and stuff too. And
Falcone and Penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of dude? Let me just say this. Colin Farrell is so unrecognizable. You would see that movie and you won't know that that's Colin Farrell. You'd have to look at like the end credits. Exactly, like Christian Bale and Vice. But like you'll have to wait until the end credits to see that was Colin Farrell? What? Like he's so.
Or if you're like us and weird and you knew that from the beginning.
No, but like for the average moviegoer, they'd be like, "What? That's Colin Farrell? No way."
Well, at first I think they'd be like, "Wait, what? Who's Colin Farrell?"
Oh yeah, no, they unfortunately they don't know who that is. Unfortunately, nobody knows that legend.
Legend.
He's a good actor. Can't even lie.
He's a good actor. I don't know if he's a legend. I think that would be a bit overselling. He's a quality actor.
Yes, but that's a good way to put him.
Yeah.
But what'd you think of Penguin?
I mean, I liked it. Yeah. I can't I liked like all those supporting characters. I liked the Penguin. Like I think you're starting to see him kind of come into his own. I use in my mind, right? I use a Gotham comparison.
Yeah.
Because I know most competent people haven't watched Gotham and don't watch Gotham. Not telling you to watch it, please. Like this isn't about me telling you it's garbage. Don't watch it. But I watched a few seasons at the beginning, whatever, and the Penguin in that movie and the way he's kind of like this secondary, this little character. Obviously, at that point, he's like literally a little character. But you've got this kind of like him kind of. Not the penguin right away. Also, they didn't do the Batman Return thing where he's like really creepy and like a fish for a while. But
yeah.
So I like that. Like, they're kind of letting him kind of be that second guy. Now that the crime bosses are gone, the major two crime bosses in Batman lore, you're gonna get Penguin kind of filling that, and somebody else who we'll talk about later, another group we'll talk about later. But you'll get Penguin kind of, I assume, come back and fill that role a little bit of being this kind of more evil. Now, I have to say, I would argue that the reason that this isn't a 10, right, and half that from a 9.5 to a 10, all of that comes off because Penguin did not hold an umbrella once.
Not hold an umbrella, didn't have a cigar.
Yeah, that kind of instantly you lose half a point.
Yeah. It wasn't the.
And he didn't have a hat on either, I don't think.
He didn't have that top hat. Yeah, he wasn't the traditional Penguin.
So Matt Reeves, you failed. This movie sucks. Actually, I'm gonna make it a 0 right now because I just kind of realized this. No, 0. Done. This movie's the worst Batman movie of all time. I'd rather watch Catwoman than watch this. So at least Catwoman had claws. Where was Penguin's hat and umbrella
and cigar?
Hell, you could have just let him ride in a giant duck. Is this so much to ask? I just want Penguin.
Colin Farrell actually said in an interview that he asked Matt Reeves for a cigar, but Matt Reeves kept on telling him no.
We have
For
to
real.
end Matt Reeves' career. Matt Reeves doesn't deserve to make another I never want to see another Matt Reeves Batman movie. You make a movie of monkeys and then you can't give the Penguin a cigar?
Oh god.
What?
Oh.
Now that I think about it, the Riddler never wore his hat either.
I mean, like, it was the start of. I guess you could say like it was the start of his career as the Riddler or something.
No. You know what? I'm not giving him a pass on this. So let's start. And you know what else? The Riddler never got his question mark Kane thing.
He had a question mark on his jacket, and he made a question mark on a coffee. That's it.
Like, you could have at least made the carpet thing have a question mark on it.
Yeah.
Or use the cane to kill people instead of a carpet thing. Even though that worked later on, whatever. But this is a very dilemma. I'm in a dilemma now because I was very on board with this, and then I realized that two of the characters weren't wearing hats. Two of the characters didn't have their signature thing they hold in their hand, and the Penguin didn't ride around in a giant yellow duck.
Hold on, let's see this.
I kind of feel robbed now.
Riddler. Yeah.
Like, why couldn't they just put a hat on top of like that weird helmet thing? That wouldn't have looked bad, probably.
Yeah, that would have looked pretty good, but the way they did Riddler, like with Paul Dano, was great regardless.
No, he needs a hat. Imagine the Joker didn't have green hair. That's like how bad it is.
What's the Joker that didn't have? No, every Joker's had green hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the Joker. If the Joker doesn't have green hair,
fail.
Then it's a fail. I don't know. This Batman movie just got a lot worse.
Oh.
Because of a hat and a cane. And an umbrella.
And a cigar that Matt Reeves denied to Colin Farrell.
And the fact that Colin Farrell asked him, he was like, nah, we're good here. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's disappointing, Matt Reeves. Come on, man. I expected better. Okay, I'm joking. I'm not actually hating on this movie because there was no umbrella.
Come on, we're not that delusional.
Nah. Sometimes. But not now. But yeah, I mean, overall, I love the movie overall. Yeah, there were some flaws. It was a little bit dark sometimes, and maybe it was like 3 hours. I don't think you could have really cut anything, but there were little things. But overall, I thought it was a really good movie, the best Batman movie, the best movie of the year, all that stuff.
Yeah, easily. I told you that Colin Farrell's Penguin's going to get a TV show.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that's happening.
We will talk about that too.
That's going to be good.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
If he actually no, that you know what? I'm gonna give them the opportunity. If he by the end of that show he can have an umbrella and a hat and he rides a giant yellow duck, then I'm okay.
Nice.
You've got a show. Now you bet no excuses.
Make it comic accurate.
So yeah,